Hey everyone, I am on much later than I intended, but for a very good reason. I just simply got sick, and that's the reason. So rather than post a video saying, "Hey, I I'm gonna postpone," I thought, well, I'll do a late one, and then try to get back on track. But my apologies to everybody. Just I was simply came in. I was simply exhausted, and there's no other way to put it than that. It just exhausted, and uh, for whatever reason, maybe it's a combination of food and just the enormous. It was cold weather, and I love the cold weather, but when you're out in 4-degree temperatures, yeah, 4 degrees, and hey, Big April, how you doing? How long are we gonna go for tonight? I would say about an hour, because that's about all I've got enough for thereabouts. I'm gonna say an hour, and then we'll see where it takes us. How's that? Hey, Barry Lee, how you doing? Um, but Big April, great to see you. I was just exhausted today. I don't know if you had those days where it just feels like you're a little wrung out. And I felt fine. I got out in the cold, and again, it's 4-degree weather, right? And wow, it was just fine. You get in, you go from the extreme cold, and if you see the video, I was like I am with coat and hat, right? And if you go to but yeah, Big April says I can feel it. I've had many days like that, and Barry, maybe you've had days like that too, or anybody else watching. But my whole point is, when you go back from that cold, oh, you got a notification? Great. When you go back into the cold and then go back into the warmth, the adjustment, the energy it takes to adjust is like, wow. And, well, on top of all that, my sleep has just been irregular. I think that's really what it is. Because so much is going on, so much news, and everything's happening. It's the end of the year, coming toward the end of the year, and I think I probably just tired out my eyes, just going, and then um, as my folks and point out, everyone, you all know, because I tend to post videos at odd hours in the morning. Hey, it could be any time, and that pace does catch up with one, and there it is. So that is the long-winded explanation why I am on late, and that's it. So my thought is, okay, what will we talk about tonight? And I thought, well, hey, you know what? I'm still shocked that the Pittsburgh Steelers would just let go. I mean, just let go of James Harrison like that. I was just like, really? I mean, what do you guys think about that? And, well, more to the point, that they would let the New England Patriots pick him up. Uh, and so Barry Lee backed this as, is it age? So you're saying that because I'm 55, I can't adjust like that? Is that it? I just didn't have any rest. I didn't look. Let me put it this way: I didn't have 8 hours of clear sleep. Okay. Um, Big April on the matter of the James Harrison acquisition by the Patriots says that he's not upset about it. The rich get richer, or is it the smart get smarter? I'm trying to figure out how that goes. Is the rich gets richer? Clearly, the Patriots are smarter than everybody else. They're like vultures. They sit back and they take the leavings of other teams, that the cast-offs. They are the Raiders of the modern era. They are truly, as we talked about the other night, the Empire Strikes Back, because the Patriots, the Raiders under Al Davis, were notorious for getting other teams' players, their cast-offs, right? And they would play very well for the Raiders. Well, how many times have we seen the Patriots get the Randy Moss or Corey Benton, Corey Dillon is a great example. Um, And now Joe Bedisu says he just wants to play against the Steelers. Yeah, he's mad. But think about it. He wants to play against the Steelers so that the Patriots, knowing that, and knowing that there's a strong possibility they're going to face the Steelers again, just basically rub their nose in it. It reminds me of when Mike Ditka coached the Chicago Bears, and the San Francisco 49ers beat the Bears, I think the previous year, 84, yeah. And one of their famous plays in their touchdown featured, I think it was Guy McIntyre, actually taking the handoff and scoring, and then being in the backfield as a blocking back is what it was, and against the Bears. And so Mike Ditka, being Ditka, didn't forget that, and put William the Refrigerator Perry in 85, right? And not only had him as a blocking back for Walter Payton, but also had him carrying the ball on the goal line to touch score. It was hilarious. You know, so it's kind of like that to me. It's almost like taking their nose and rubbing it in the turf before they play. It's really something else. It's hilarious. My thought is why I don't understand why. Well, the Steelers didn't do that. Also, this is an ask any question format, so we don't necessarily have to stick on that topic. If you want to ask a question about something else, that's cool. Welcome to Zenny 62. It's late, and just curious to know what you all think about the Harrison deal. And I'm still shocked. I'm like, wow. I mean, it's so very Steelers, right? That they would let him go like that to the Patriots. Yeah, and it's so very Patriots that they would pick him up from the Steelers. And Barry Lee says, I can't understand why the Steelers let him go either. I think let me see what that was all about. If there's any pushback. I think he's 39. I know that, but James Harrison released. So if I type James Harrison released, and ESPN reports that the Steelers are unfazed. All right. Now, Gary Dulac says James Harrison's release is almost unprecedented, and this is from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. All right. So this is what the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reports. Okay. And the Post-Gazette says they have the picture of James Harrison here. And it says, at a time when the Steelers have had one dose of bad news after the other, they apparently had no problem inflicting some more on themselves. So this didn't go down well at all in Pittsburgh when it happened. And Big April says, oh, hey, Tuki Cooper, how you doing? How are you? Champ is here. Nice to have you, Champ. Big April says, if the Raiders lose Del Rio's win-loss record would be 25-23, but McKenzie's win-loss record would be 36-60. Wow, good point. Anyway, Gary Dulac says that the decision to release James Harrison, a player they kept around all season for his presence, stability, and leadership, with 2 games remaining in the regular season, is surprising and almost unprecedented for a player of his stature. So undoubtedly the Patriots know this, saw it, and acted when it was right to do so. And they said, just like they discovered Hines Ward in a 2011 midseason game against Jacksonville, the Steelers found out that Harrison at age 39 could not play anymore. Okay? That's what he's writing here. And he says, but unlike Ward, another player of great stature they discovered couldn't play anymore, Troy Polamalu, the Steelers decided not to wait until the end of the season to release their all-time sack leader and former NFL Defensive Player of the Year. In the process, they denied the author of the greatest and longest individual play in Super Bowl history another run at the Super Bowl. And they did. And that was, if you're wondering what they're talking about there, that is, they're talking about the Super Bowl pitting the Arizona Cardinals against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And James Harrison took pass that was from Kurt Warner, and they were on, I believe, the 8-yard line. And he returned it the other way, 92 yards for a touchdown. So, anyway, it says, what's more, Steelers on 2 separate occasions carried 2 injured players, defensive end Aaron Smith and center Marquise Pouncey, on their 53-man roster through a Super Bowl run, even though neither ever had a chance to compete in the game, right? This is what's being reported here. And Harrison was released Saturday to make room for Marcus Gilbert, who's returning from a 4-game suspension. But they instead decided to keep defensive tackle Daniel McCullers and inside linebacker L.J. Ford on their roster. McCullers has been inactive for 9 of the past 11 games. And Coach Mike Tomlin called cutting 39-year-old James Harrison Saturday to make room for Marcus Gilbert on the roster just life in football. Sometimes you just got to make tough decisions. Well, I hate that term tough decisions because I don't know about you, but every time I hear a coach, an NFL coach, talk about making a tough decision, it's a stupid decision. And this is one of those times. Releasing James Harrison was a stupid decision because not only was it stupid when it happened, everyone knew it, but Bill Belichick and the Patriots compounded the appearance of stupidity by picking him up. Okay? So, as T. Cooper says, McKenzie doesn't deserve to be fired. Talking about the Raiders GM. Hey, Adam, how are you? Crawford says, again, tough decisions is the most worn down cliche in society. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing this tough decisions thing. Every time I hear somebody say tough, I'm going to think, oh no, here we go again. Rob Byman says, McKenzie might be fired with Del Rio. Mark Davis is considering cleaning house. Who says that? Well, I mean, Big April says, I got that one. And so Adam says, I'm here. I won't be on here much. I'm just in the lake reading newspapers and relaxing, but I'm listening. So you're at Lake Merritt right now, and it is 9:11 at night. Cool. You're reading newspapers in the dark? I'm a little confused about that one. Adam says, hope you're having a great Christmas. Yes, I did. Crawford is here. How are you? Big April says, talking about Reggie McKenzie, had 2 good drafts and 1 winning season. Oh, it's 10-11 in California. Okay. 10-11 in California. I keep getting my times mixed up. Ray again says, what's up, Zenny? Hey, how you doing? How are you? And hey, folks are here. I didn't expect this. This is good. Anyway, so what do you all think of the chance on a scale of 1, meaning no chance, and 10, absolutely, that because they got James Harrison, the New England Patriots are going to return to the Super Bowl? And they are the defending champions. So remember, 1 is no chance, 10 is absolutely. So Iman says 5. Philosophy King says 8. Ray again says 10, which means absolutely. Adam says, Adam, I got a poll here. T. Cooper says 7, maybe 8. Okay. Crawford says, I just want the Patriots to lose. I'll say 7. Big April says 6.5. Peter Gann says they were already going to win regardless, unfortunately. I say this is a 7. And the reason why is, even though the Patriots are the defending AFC champions, I still believe that, look, offense sells tickets and defense wins championships. Regardless of that buzzsaw that they ran into the 49ers, I really think that they didn't take the Niners seriously because of the Niners' record. The Jaguars still have the best defense in the AFC. So you cannot discount their Super Bowl chances. And Ray Grant says, I think they got him just for the intel on the Steelers. Well, I think they got him for the reasons that are basically stated in the article. His locker room leadership, and not just his knowledge about the Steelers, but his knowledge about how a defense should attack an offense. He's like a coach on the field, right? He's like, getting James Harrison is like the Raiders getting Navarro Bowman, okay? It's like that. And so T. Cooper says, oh, that's true, Zen. You see what I'm getting at? That's how that is. It's like the Raiders getting the Raw Bowman. And so Rob Ivan says if Del Rio is not retained, he should have an OC that can run the West Coast offense. Or some offensive coordinator that understands how to develop a system that has two things. First of all, sight adjustment by the receivers, and second of all, no huddle. Because I haven't seen this Raider organization under Todd Downing run a true no huddle offense. As you see in college. Raider Gann says, I hope somehow we get Hugh Jackson back as OC. Well, that would mean that the Browns would have to fire Hugh Jackson. Crawford loves Tom Haley. Hey, Patrick Blackman, how are you? He says, hey, Zenny, it was 4 degrees in Chicago, and that's without the wind chill factor. You like that weather. You must have fur on your skin. Or something. But Adam says, Zenny, have I talked to Ray Perez lately? No. And so, hey, I like Ray. Ray's a great guy. I just, and love to have him back. It's just a matter of just hasn't happened. At all, and it will one day. Rob Iman says Hugh will be canned, but Mark Davis will not bring him back. I'm not so sure Hugh's going to be canned, because I think if Hugh were going to be canned, it would have happened by now, and it's classless for an organization to say we're going to keep our head coach, and then turn around, and they have said that the Browns have said Hugh Jackson is safe, and then turn around after the season and he's not safe. Okay, so that's not cool. I don't see them doing that. Adam says, what's the latest on the Raiders Stadium in Vegas, and what are the chances the Raiders still build a stadium in Oakland? Well, the chances right now, the Raiders are here in Oakland. Okay, and they're not going anywhere until 2020 or maybe 2021. And here's the Raiders' biggest problem right now, okay? The Raiders' biggest problem with respect to Las Vegas and the stadium is that they are looking at a situation where they may be squeezed out of it because there's not enough money that is being generated by the stadium tax to pay for the bond issue that they wanted for the stadium. They wanted a $750 million bond issue, but the stadium tax isn't even throwing off enough money to pay for a $700 million bond issue, let alone, if we start adjusting it, a $680 million bond issue. They've got some problems there. And that situation has existed before 1 October, okay? Because they tried to fool around, they tried to have their cake and eat it too. They tried to have a big stadium subsidy, $750 million, and yet a small relative stadium tax rate less than 1%. And they didn't have enough cojones just to say to the Raiders, hey, look, we can't afford this subsidy. If you need to walk, you need to walk. Las Vegas doesn't need football that bad. They've got other sports coming in. So Raider Gann says Raiders should try to get Manning as OC. It's an interesting idea. And Crawford says UNLV will be slipping in come May. And yeah, that's the other thing. You have that deadline. That deadline is sticking out there. T. Cooper says, I honestly like to see Chucky at the helm of the Raiders, especially with the personnel that we have at the moment. Raider Gann says, if he's coming back, talking about Chucky, I don't think he will until they are in Vegas. I don't think so. I don't see Vegas as this fiscal panacea for the Raiders. I see it as potentially the instrument for the Raiders' fiscal destruction. The way the law is written, the problems with the stadium in terms of economic structure, that small media market, it's not adding up. So, Rob Iman says, Chucky will want GM power. C. Cooper says, I disagree with that, Raider Gans. And yeah, I do too. I just don't see it. Oh, by the way, Crawford says October 1st changed a whole lot of things. It did. But, I told John Clayton it was going to happen. Excuse me. I didn't say it was going to happen. I said that the deal was structured in such a way that something like that would hurt it. And this is where we're at. But here's the point. Even when after the recovery, you still have a small stadium tax rate. If the stadium tax rate, the hotel tax were at 1.4% rather than 88 of 1%, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority would have had a nice cushion even during this time so that they would have no worries. What my issue is with this deal is how poorly designed and executed it has been. That is my problem, okay? And that's my problem. So Barry Lee says, I would love to be a fly on the wall to see here in negotiations be Oakland and Mark Davis once the Vegas project fails. And I thought about that the other day. Patrick M. Blackman says, Vegas can afford to play with house money because they can survive without the Raiders. Yeah, I mean, they've got, think about the bigger situation here. You've got MGM and its CEO, Jim Murin, talking about the WNBA. And in the interview that I saw with Mr. Murin, he didn't talk one bit. This is with CNBC about the Raiders. It was all about what they were doing with the WNBA and a mention of hockey at T-Mobile, which MGM, I believe, has a stake in, if not owns. And so that was it. So they've got, from the MGM perspective, they've got a handle on how sports should be done in the Las Vegas market. And I thought the fact that the Raiders never came up in his speech, in his talk with CNBC, was telling. And then on top of that, you got the WNBA pulling, fans and potential ticket buyers and that sort of thing. And then you have Las Vegas Sands talking about or planning building its own music arena, which will take events away from what? If it's built the way it was supposed to be, the Raiders Stadium or the UNLV Stadium, all right? So this doesn't look good at all. And, hey, Jack Bauer, 24, Merry Christmas. And Merry Christmas. And Crawford says, Golden Knights owner put the Raiders on the blast again with their stadium proposal. He did? Wait, was this recent? Crawford, can you tell me when this happened? You said he put him on blast. You said again. Golden Knights owner put the Raiders on blast again with their stadium proposal. When did this happen? I missed that. Crawford says, T. Cooper says, exactly, City. Adam says, longer City of Oakland waits. Yeah, look it up, please, Crawford. I appreciate that. Crawford also says, I wonder if Vince McMahon learned anything to avoid the same mistakes he made with the first launch. Well, his first attempt at the XFL was based around a game I may call the XFL Sim World. And to make a long story short, the way to get the best business score in the XFL is to bring in low cost but name players, because then you get the tickets and the ratings, and that helps your overall value. If you don't do that, because no one ever heard of the players the XFL brought in except the guy that had the name He Hate Me. Remember that? He Hate Me. And then they had the cheerleaders and the raunchy stuff, So, and I'm wondering how that will be received today with all of that. And, we have an interesting time in society, interesting time. And so, Crawford, did you find it? Crawford says, Kevin KD, how are you? Says, Crawford, it seems Vince McMahon is intent on going flat broke. He's rich. Big April says, Rod, thank you. Rod, he hate me, smart. That was some fun stuff. He hates me. He hate me. Especially after Rod ran over those dudes. They really hated him then. Absolutely hated him. Patrick and Blackman says, I think the NFL benefited more from Vince McMahon because the NFL is like the WWE with all the foolishness that has been going on in the past 10 years. You know, the one thing that I thought really improved the NFL game that came from the XFL was the Skycam. You know, the Skycam, and also the interviewing the coaches before halftime as they go in. That was an XFL innovation because prior to the XFL, there was this wall between the TV camera and the coaches, and now the NFL has tried to some degree bring in you close to the on the field situation where you're talking with the coaches or you're there as the coaches are being talked to by the reporters. That is an XFL thing, okay? And so Rob Wyman says, Crawford says, Google search Bill Foley, and there's a recent article on critic blasting taxpayer-funded stadium ideas. He didn't, okay, I got you. I know where that's going. I need to read that one, because if he didn't name names, it's cool. But, I mean, if he named the name, I would read it. If he didn't name the name, I'm not going to go back and look for it. Now, if you find it where he specifically names the Raiders, then fine. But I don't think he would be that politically dangerous. Could be wrong, all right? Riley says, WWE makes millions from fans, so no, it's not the next year. Next what? The next Sears. I get it. And yeah, and I think Kevin was saying that, but he lost a lot of money talking about Vince McMahon with the WWE network, and the company is losing money, but not in bankruptcy, right? I'll have to check that one out. Let's see where. Well, let me check it out right now. This is the internet. Let's see what we have. WWE's ratings are declining. Wonder why that is. Well, you know, they don't. WE. Let's see what the WWE news is. WWE SmackDown results. Tarp stars added. If I click on news is not always reliable today. Some of the top 10 moments. What this tells me is, hey, look, the WWE is, they've got SmackDown Live. They've got the preview of SmackDown Live. So why don't we wait until SmackDown Live's ratings to see how, whoa, things are doing. WWE rumors, examine latest buzz around Batista, The Miz. This is all character stuff. So I don't see anything bad here. You got Paige launching an online store, and Paige is hot. So WWE looks like it's hooly. Dana Brooke is on, and no. And then Dean Ambrose, Big Bro was linked. Wow, this is something else here. I don't know. WWE looks like it's alive and well and kicking to me. I don't see any problems, because if the problems were that acute, you would read about them in the news front and center. All right, that's the way it goes. That's the way that goes. That is the way that goes. WWE is a world unto itself. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing to watch. So. And T. Cooper says, yeah, she's hot and zany, and so is Dana Brooke. Crawford says, he didn't mention the Raiders specifically, but it sounded like he doesn't like the idea of taxpayer-funded vendors. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Rob Iman says, UFC took some of its ratings. Joseph Bensman says, hey, how you doing, Joseph? And let's see here. How can your profit margins be falling that badly? Wait a minute. There is something I do want to... get over here, or not get over, but just move in search over to, okay? And get off the chest. It's got the SmackDown results. And what is this that I saw? Paige launches online store. That was 8 hours ago. And this is on WrestlingInc.com. So they've got a mention of the trailer, but no photo of Paige. Mentioning, oh, wait a minute, here it is. This is Paige, for those of you wondering. I hate, you go to point the camera at a page, right? No pun intended. And all of a sudden, an ad comes up right in front of it, which makes you want to click away from it. Hold on a second, but I'm showing you this. Here we go. This is the page thing. There's page, right? That's page, okay? With her kind of semi-Rolling Stone look. That's her, yeah. Her semi-Rolling Stone, definitely a goth wrestler look. Now, yeah, that's Paige. There you go. So, and that's her page. That's her store. It's open. All right. So Cooper says he didn't lose money at all. Patrick and Blackman writes, the NFL learned entertainment value from Vince McMahon. There's more news off the field than on the field. Right. You know, like I said to someone years ago, if I were the Dallas Cowboys and I had Terrell Owens, I would make a special page and a special website and a YouTube channel designed so that I would capture every bit of content, page views, and advertising money I could from anything that Terrell Owens said or did. And instead, the Cowboys just sort of sat there and let T.O. be T.O. in a sense, but they didn't take advantage from a business standpoint of T.O. letting T.O. be T.O. because they didn't get the internet. You know, you didn't have Jerry Jones online tweeting, even though in one interview, I think way back in 2008, he said that he could, quote, see himself tweeting, unquote. I can see myself tweeting one day, unquote, words to that effect. But he tried it, I think, for like maybe a second in time and stopped. That was about it. So the Cowboys just, like most, and that's the other problem. That's the problem with the NFL in general. It doesn't understand, and it really has never got the internet or social media. And so, for example, the NFL should have its own Twitter type system. Not just page, it has that. But I'm saying you can make your own Twitter style microblogging platform, and the NFL could benefit a lot from having its own within NFL.com. They have, NFL.com has enough followers and enough bookmarkers to do that, and they can control their message, right? They don't do that. So the NFL that's one of a number of mistakes the National Football League makes with respect to social media. The first mistake is they being the NFL, let other social media platforms basically tell their story. That's the worst part of all. Kevin KD says, but isn't the NFL too old school in its cultural makeup to be adept at social media? So what? You know, I mean, I don't really accept the age thing. I mean, I'm since Zenny 62, but I'm Zenny 62, and I'm ahead of a lot of more people than I've seen who, with respect to social media and what I do and their practices that I maintain. There are certain platforms I don't like to use, like Snapchat, for one reason. And it's because with Snapchat, I cannot auto-publish. I have to, and same with Instagram is, you know, have some of the same issues for me, but with Snapchat, they're more acute by its design. And Snapchat is more of a push out than I would like. But, so that's why I don't like to use it. There are hundreds of social media platforms out there. It just so happens that Twitter and Facebook are the largest ones, right? And so my point is, I believe in using the ones out there that I can fit within my distribution network. That's how I do it. But I also believe that you need to own your own platforms. So if you're a company the size of the National Football League or the National Basketball Association or WWE or MLB, you need to own your own and build your own platforms, and they don't do that. They build their own websites, but it stops there. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's because the way the culture is. What I'm saying is it doesn't have to be that way, okay? So, hey, good night, T. Cooper. Good to see you. Rob Iman says, I think web streaming is the new ESPN. Yeah, it is. It really is. And Kevin K. Dean says, I mean, the NFL wants to be too conservative in social makeup. They're not flexible and willing to embrace change. I don't think, you know what I think it is? I think the way the NFL works is like this, all right? Good night, T. Cooper. The NFL responds to anybody that brings an idea to it that has enough money to pay them to do it. So if you're a startup and you have a new idea, but you don't have the bucks to pay the league to get the rights from them to do it, then guess what? Your innovation doesn't get adopted by the league. So league's problem isn't old school. It's structural. You understand what I'm getting at? More often than not, a player that's going to have the kind of money the NFL is looking for to give up its licensing rights to for technology is going to be an established player with a ton of money behind it. The NFL should be, but is not of the habit of taking its dollars and investing them in new technology unless it can figure out a way to get money back from that new technology. And that money has to be in the form of some other organization buying NFL rights. That's because that's how the NFL makes its money. It makes its money from media rights fees more than anything else. So again, you have to think about the league from that standpoint. So it's not, oh, they're old school, oh, they're old guys. No. It's not that. It's the economic structure. The economic structure of the NFL as it stands it doesn't wholly prevent the NFL from taking advantage of the best technology, but it doesn't encourage the NFL to build its own technology, is what I'm saying. And it's tried. I've watched this for years. Okay, I watched the NFL come to places like ad tech, NFL representatives, and there have been a number of experiments around, but they just haven't done it. So Crawford says the money is too much to pass with TV networks. Yeah, and Kevin Cady says Barry Lee, that's hilarious. Wait a minute. Barry Lee says FSN will be incorporated with Disney. Yep. Rob Ivan says, I got that one. Oh, Rob Ivan says, I'm curious how Disney will handle the FSN properties when the transaction is complete. So am I, because I'm curious as to what they're going to be allowed to keep. Patrick and Blackman said when Ted Turner entered the wrestling business, he told Vince McMahon, I'm Ted Turner, I'm in the wrestling business. McMahon said, I'm Vince McMahon, I'm in the entertainment business. There's a difference. And I think some people in the NFL see in this relocation to Los Angeles and then, of course, Las Vegas, the NFL as an entertainment business. But it doesn't, they really have to be careful on the amount of money that they spend to make that happen. Because the throw-off from what they're trying to do in terms of revenue is not enough to justify what they're doing. And a lot of this is just a guess. There's no one giant chart that says, we're going to have this pogo stick ride, man. No. Okay? There are people who are excited about having the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, sure. But how much money is that going to make the league over other Super Bowls? Will it really be that much more? It's a question to ask. Will it be exciting? Oh, absolutely. Incredibly, Will it lead to the construction of even more hotels? Yeah. But, look, you've got other events of worldwide stature that have been held in Las Vegas over the past, decades that have gotten their image elevated by being in Las Vegas as much as Las Vegas has gotten its image elevated by having it there, like boxing comes to mind, right? It could work, but I really would have to calculate that out. Because right now it's all like everything else with Vegas, a lot of it's hype. And people can get caught up in that hype, but when that hype doesn't translate into dollars, yeah. So, Rob Iman says Fox, right? Got that one. Patrick and Blackman says a Super Bowl in Vegas would be a bad idea with all the bad officiating. I'm not talking about that, Patrick. I'm talking about the economics. I'm talking about what people would spend for a commercial in Vegas versus someplace else. That's what I'm talking about. And off the top of my head, given the size of the Super Bowl is so huge, it's not so much the size of the Vegas market, right? But it's also the number of events that would happen in Vegas tied to it, the concerts, the celebrities. So from a local, here it is. It's not so much the TV, which I think would certainly be good, but particularly for the first time, right? First time in Las Vegas, right? But the local revenue that could be drawn from it, because you already have the common Super Bowl city plays host to 141 Super Bowl parties. Okay? 141. My hypothesis is that number would be doubled if the Super Bowl were in Las Vegas. So we would talk about 182, 141 to 282 parties. That's a lot of parties. Why? Because of the number of hotels. It's huge. So yeah, there you go. All right. So John Marks, how you doing? Greetings from Kelso. Kelso, you're there. He says Vegas sucks. And Eric Young says #fixed. Talking about the referees and how it might be fixed in Vegas and all that is secondary to the real issue, which is cha-ching, dollars. Okay? I wish I could do that and actually have that draw out as an S on the screen, like dollars. Okay? So Barry Lee says, I thought Marvel and Star Wars are great. Kevin KD is not like the idea of the Disney Sports Network. Disney, DSN, Disney Sports Network. And Rob Iman wants Disney to combine Prime Ticket and Fox Sports San Diego and rebrand as ESPN SoCal. Kevin KD says that Disney ruined Star Wars. Really? I thought Disney... Are you kidding me? Why would you... I'm just curious. I thought Disney really improved Star Wars. It kept it alive. And Kevin Barry Lee said that Skip Bayless left ESPN because it was too Disney. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. Too Disney. What does he mean by that? Like he couldn't curse? John Mark says, do you think Vegas and the Raiders will pull this off, Zenny? I think that it's dicey, given the hotel numbers. I really do think it's dicey. And the question becomes, is the prospect of having a Super Bowl in Vegas so great that it offsets the losses the Raiders will deal with absent the Super Bowl? And my answer is no. Okay? The only reason to go through this trouble is to have a Super Bowl in Vegas. That's the only reason. When you start thinking about the revenue picture, it looks good, but you also have to think about the costs in terms of security. All right? And I hate to bring this up again, as I did to John Clayton, and we're dealing with it now with respect to 1 October, but the security bill for Vegas Super Bowl will be the highest by far in NFL history. It will have to be, because you cannot have something with double the number of parties and events and not think that you're not setting up a gigantic stage for something negative to happen. You've got to have the best in security, Not only that, you have to have a gigantic security force just brought in specifically for that game, even over and above other Super Bowls. So when I start to think about it, and I think about the upside, I can also think that when you get to the revenue upside, the expense upside goes up with it. And there is an expense upside. All right? That's why when if you notice, some of you might see where I always ask a person to think about the cost of something and not just the revenues. That's what I'm doing. Think about the costs too. Okay? So, Crawford says, I wonder if the NFL wants to go forward with the NFL presence in Las Vegas too small, too financially challenged, and too toxic. Yeah, there are people who believe that San Jose just got hit with a 4.0 earthquake. Well, okay, that's not big. Now, 6.0? 4.0, no. I do wonder if my friend felt that. 4.0 is, look, my first earthquake that I experienced was 4.0 in Oakland. And I was at Allendale, and I got under my desk. And I was the only person, I was fresh from Chicago. I was the only person to get under their desk. Everyone laughed at me. Just to put that in perspective, John. Now, 5.0, different story, okay? But 4.0, all right, just saying. John Davis says, will the Vegas Stadium mean we'll have no money for high-paying coaches? The Vegas Stadium could mean that. Yeah, it could mean that if it gets that far. And it could mean that. Aaron Blaylock says, I saw the Star Wars movie twice. It was great. I want to see it again. Philosopher King says, they laughed at you. What a bunch of jerks. Eric Young says, yeah, they laughed at me. That was, hey, they're kids. Eric Young says, I'm in San Jose and I didn't feel it. So there we go. Now, getting back to my point, my point as far as the problem with the deal. Oh, you went to Allendale Elementary. Oh, wow, small world. Small world. Getting back to the conversation regarding the Raiders' problems in Las Vegas, the next Stadium Authority meeting will be January 11th. And that should be quite the interesting meeting in Las Vegas. Particularly because what should be on the agenda is the November numbers. All right? And not only that, if the November numbers are at 3.2 million, it's actually 3,256,000 or 232,000. Yeah. 236,000. 3,236,000. But if those numbers are that, then you have to ask the question, what are the December numbers going to look like? If the December numbers come in even worse, oh my God, they're going to have to panic. And then someone comes along, and I remember, we talked about this the other night, but someone said to me, actually we didn't, but someone said to me, hey, on a comment that, what was it? How did they put it? Oh, well, we're going to get New Year's Eve, and we expect 300,000 people, and yada, 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 okay? All right, let's see if that really happens. Then I heard before it happened that Thanksgiving was supposed to be the savior, right? So here comes Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving did nothing for the stadium hotel tax revenue. Nothing. And it's not just 1 October. I really believe it has to do with the fact that you have a lot of people coming from not just California, but different areas of the country. And it doesn't matter if it's New York or Denver or Dallas or Atlanta or San Francisco or Oakland or Los Angeles or San Diego. All of these cities have homeless problems. And when they have an uptick in the homeless population, it means that people who may ordinarily have had enough money to come to Vegas are being displaced. But it also means that for all the homeless people that are going through that problem, you have somebody else that may very well be on the cusp of being in that same situation. I never face this. That you see me getting at. So, Crawford says, I wonder if the meeting will be streamed. It will be because it's at the Clark County Chambers, so it will be downtown. Rob Ivan says, ATAC 3.0 could be bad news. Eric Young says, good. Y'all talking about now Count Dooku. But how could Count Dooku be a better fighter than Kylo Ren, even though Kylo Ren is supposed to be a prominent villain? Bad writing. Really? I don't know where that came from. You guys just started us. I'm not going to jump in on that one. Rob Iman says, next generation broadcast. Oh, hey, are they going to be at CES? Rob Iman, are they going to be at CES? What is this called? Just maybe it says ATAC 3.0. Let me see if they're going to be at CES 2018 because, of course, I'm credentialed to cover it. If so, I'll make a special video about it. Let me see that. ATS. Let me see. CES. I'm typing this in search 2018. Find out in a second. And there is a section called What Will TV Look Like? Here we go, Rob Ivan. Thank you very much. What will TV look like in 2020? CES 2018. How will manufacturers... Look at this. Thank you, Rod. Look at this. 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 Right here. See that? CES Tech. What will TV look like in 2020? Right? And see. Once near development is next gen TV. Got it? It was supposed to broadcast and broadband. So yeah. They're going to be talking about it, and so you just gave me something to cover. Thank you. And I'll make a special video and talk about that. Thank you very much. I owe it to you, Mr. Ryman, for giving me that tip. Because I focus on what is called the digital Hollywood segment of CES, and that is within it, okay? And so here it is. It's January 10th, 11 to 12:30, Tech East, Las Vegas Convention Center, North Hall, N261. 4K, ultra-high definition TV sales are expected to exceed 16.7 million units in 2017. How will manufacturers and the content community continue to innovate and drive sales? One new development is Next Gen TV, ATSC 3.0, that enables both broadcast and broadband. And so this is a conference track, Rob. The moderator is Michael Heiss, the contributing editor of Residential Systems. Speaker is Tim Alessi, the director of new product development for LG Electronics. Kevin Cahill, the head of product marketing at Hisense, is a speaker, as is John Penny, the EVP of strategic partnerships for 20th Century Fox. Dan Shinazi, the director of product planning for consumer electronics for Samsung. All white guys. Interesting. But anyway, there it is. I had to note that because the big thing about that people are ranting on about this year about CES is, hey, little diversity in keynote speakers. So here we go again. But I digress. I'm going to check that out nonetheless. Again, thank you. And Rob, thank you very much. Scrolling down. What other comments do we have other than, you guys still on the Count and Toku thing. Rob Iman says, no problem. You're very welcome. Jack Bauer says, that wasn't in the movie. And you guys are all talking about all that stuff, all right? Fine. Now, John Mark says, TV will look like Vegas NFL deal in 2020. You know, I tell anyone, if you want to watch, TV, right? Get YouTube TV. I highly recommend it. Eric Young says, not me. Eric Young writes, had a rather hilarious stream. During the groundbreaking ceremony, Godzilla came out of the ground. He's reminiscent of Godzilla versus Mothra. He's talking about how the Godzilla... I thought that would be cool, right? So what we have to do is we'd have to get the groundbreaking itself and then kind of insert Godzilla coming out in the background. John Davis says, "I'm going to be here to going to have to buy the new Disney Channel coming out." Jack Bauer says, "Deep down inside, do you think Mark wants to stay in Oakland?" Yeah, and I think now he's in a position of saving face. And I have to be candid now that we're down the road. I asked a friend of mine who knows Mark Davis well. I asked, and I'm not going to say, I asked this person, I said, early on, I said, why is Mark going through all this trouble about Las Vegas? And the quote that I got back was this: "Well, I know he has a couple of girls." Okay? That's the quote I got back. I thought, really? This is why we're going through all this? I can't, I refuse to believe it's for that reason. But I don't know the man, okay? I don't know the man. And it would be it's not a question. How do you broach that question to somebody without it coming off as insulting? You don't. Because it's insulting. It's like, hey, are you just doing this for some girls, man? Okay. How do you do that? Crawford says the NFL needs to investigate this. Kevin KD says, what men won't do for love. Yes. Jack Bauer says, Mark is so confused that he's confusing me. John Mark says, Hydra, the smog monster in Vegas. Aaron Blaylock says, how should we reach out to Davis if he wants to stay? I would say just call the office and express your support for the Raiders staying in Oakland. I really do. I don't know Mark. I have a great deal of respect for Mark. I feel sorry for Mark because he's tasked with inheriting a business that he wasn't really specifically groomed to maintain from the start. He came in later, right? But he wasn't. See, it would have been different if Mark was the president of the organization as opposed to Amy Trask, right? Because it would have been obvious how the line of succession looked right there. He would have been in the building, okay? Instead, you don't have that. He's had great relations with players like Cliff Branch, but I don't see that. So, Patrick and Blackman says, did your friend know Al Davis well? Yes. Rob Iman says, at some point, Mark will have to sell the Raiders. John Mark says, yes, the office of the mayor, yeah. And so, yeah. Well, my friend knew Al Davis. Oh, my other friend. I'm thinking about two friends. This particular friend didn't know Al Davis at all. That friend I'm talking about, Mark Davis, knows Mark Davis from work, from this person's working relationship, which I cannot give away, because that would definitely jeopardize who I'm talking about, and I don't want that to happen. So no. So Eric Young says, Kevin KD says, and maybe some of the NFL offices as well, because the relocation stuff needs to end. Eric Young says, girls, we going through all this for that? Ha ha ha. Unfortunately, we do have, stuff right here in the Bay Area. That's no excuse. I don't think it's like, look, sometimes we do things to impress and to have whatever it is that might build our self-esteem. So because my response when I was told that was to express incredulity, okay? I thought, no, that can't be the reason. And I still don't believe it. But I'm saying to you, that is what I was told. Understand? That is what I was told. All I know is that Davis either wanted LA or Las Vegas. They never focused on Oakland. Even Carson So there's some reason going on that would seem to point to, and I'm saying this hesitantly because I don't want to wrap my mind around that possibility, but as Mr. Spock said, when something doesn't seem to make sense, you go for that which what is it? I think the turn of it is, if something isn't logical, but it seems to be the only answer, then you have to go with what that is. And maybe that's just what it is. Because it can't just be having a Super Bowl in Vegas. Because if that were the case, they would have I would like to do a mind meld and find out with Mark and find out exactly what triggered this. What really triggered this whole thing. I really would. And Patrick and Blackman says Mark's biggest battle is with himself. And Crawford says this is ridiculous. The NFL needs to step in and demand to nix the Vegas deal. But remember, Jerry Jones was a big proponent of it. Okay, but it could be, and I'm just saying, given certain relationships, it could be that Jerry Jones has his own party-related desires in Vegas, like that want this. He knows Sheldon Adelson, believes Sheldon Adelson, he being Jerry Jones, would be a great owner. Jerry Jones has been known to party in Vegas. He's gotten into a little dicey situation in Vegas. And here he is, the proponent of Mark Davis building that stadium in Vegas and his organization handling the food and the concessions, all right? I'm just saying. I mean, maybe my friend has a point that I'm not willing to accept. Excuse me. I think my friend has a point that I'm not willing to accept. Okay? And I'm not. So, Kevin KD says he means romance, not temporal indulgence. And Rob Iman says Jerry Jones is going to get himself ran out of the NFL soon enough. Patrick and Blackman says the NFL is tired of Jerry Jones. Kevin KD says Jerry Jones is the most selfish person. I don't think he's selfish. I'll challenge you on that. He's done a lot of great things, right? Jerry Jones is a lot of things, but selfish is not one of them. I disagree there. Aaron Blaylock says, do the politicians make Davis feel unwanted or diss him? John Mark says, I think your friend is telling the truth, Zinni. No, I don't. The politicians don't diss Mark Davis at all. Well, they might make fun of him, but they don't diss him, But by our conversation, by what I've been told, by what you've seen and read, I think collectively we can all say the situation under which the Raiders are trying this relocation is not ideal economically, nor is it ideal. Well, it's not ideal economically, procedurally, or even personally. You'd like to say, okay, I'm relocating because this is a better market for my team, but you can't say that. I'm relocating because this is going to create a better economic situation for me. And given the cost, he can't say that because Mark Davis himself said I could go broke doing this. So, there's a lot where you're just going, gee, what is this about, man? Eric Young says, wouldn't a new Raiders owner have the option to ignore commitments Mark Davis made to Las Vegas? Well, that begs the question, what signed commitments has he made? Okay, they spent for example, they say they spent their own money to put land, to buy land. They could sell that land. They could, or give it to UNLV, or give it away if it turns over, right? And if they do that, if they get in a situation where they run out of time, they give it up. If The Raiders got that money from Las Vegas Sands to begin with, and that money was used for the land prep that's going on now, which is more analysis of soil and then the purchase of land. Then, in all honesty, they don't lose anything. They just use other people's money to try to establish something that didn't work out. So technically, they lose nothing. Okay, and there's a lot more money to be made in the Bay Area than in Vegas. That's the truth. Vegas is flash. It's show. It's showgirls, right? That's Vegas. The Bay Area is true industry. It's a true industrial power. A power so great that if it were a country unto itself, arguably, it would be one of the 10 largest in the nation. In the world. Las Vegas cannot make that claim. Las Vegas cannot make that claim. Nowhere near. So, as Eric Young, just tons more. Kevin KD says Steinbrenner was just, and Big April says we have style in the Bay Area. And Kevin KD says, yeah, but the whole controlling players' appearance thing was always so creepy to me. Why would you care about the attire of others? And Eric Young says, I'm hoping the Raiders do one at a time. It's getting that way. Rob Ivan says, George Steinbrenner pulled all the stops to win. John Marks thinks the Raiders are the biggest joke in sports. I disagree. I think the Raiders, you know what I think of the Raiders? I think the Raiders, Kevin and John Marks, I think the Raiders are the greatest underperforming asset in sports right now. The Raiders ought to be worth more than the Dallas Cowboys. The Raiders would be worth more than the Dallas Cowboys if they remained in Oakland, which they are now, but to build the new stadium. Okay. Kevin KD says UNLV. Crawford says style that can sustain for years, unlike versus Egas. And John Mark says, do you disagree with me on the Raiders being... Okay, let me ask you, John Marks, then what in sports is the biggest underperforming asset? What sports organization out there is operating at less than what its market value should be? I argue it's the Raiders. I argue the Raiders should be worth $5 billion. Okay? Kevin KD says, Zinni, I agree with you on the profile of the Raiders. They are worth their weight in gold. Yeah. Bob Iman says the Browns are the biggest joke. Well, okay. Here's my point, though. Even at the Browns' potential, the Browns are not worth more than the Raiders. Because the Browns don't have that exportable brand that the Raiders have established. The Oakland style that's exportable, okay? The Browns don't have that. And the Browns haven't done anything to build that, okay? You don't find people walking around, look. What do the Browns have? The dogs, right? So do you have people that want to run around dressed like dogs? No. You have people who do want to run around dressed like, what? Pirate, Darth Vader, Men in Black. There are all kinds of ways you can go with the Raiders, especially the men and women in black, right? That look cool, all right? That sort of thing. Okay? So, Kevin KD says Cleveland culture is regional while Oakland culture is transitive. Yeah. I mean, there is nothing cooler than black. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Look at this shirt. This is cool. It's the Raiders. Look at how nice it is. I like wearing this just as not just because it's not just because it's Raiders, but it looks nice. It looks nice. So we've got Kevin KD says Pirates, Black Panthers, Men in Black, death imagery. Yeah. Aaron Blaylock says the Raiders are underutilized on the field and in the marketplace for sure. John Mark says Mark Davis is a coward by not coming to the table and negotiating with Oakland. Eric, I do agree with that. And, Oakland could have, the mayor could have really turned that around too, and still could. Eric Young says, "I'll be glad when when we in Oakland can have the peace of mind that places like Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Kansas City get to enjoy." I wholeheartedly agree, Eric Young. They don't have the stress of a potential move by their team. No, they don't. And John Marks says, "Is she going to do it?" If Libby's doing it, it's in secret. Patrick and Blackman, which is very possible. Why do I say that? Two reasons. First of all, we're going to settle with the Raiders regarding the parking situation. A. B. They're going to get that lease extension. C. Both of those outcomes imply one thing: constant, open discussion among people that regard each other as family. Okay, so Crawford says, when you look at the Niners on post-game press conferences, sponsors are all over the place on the banners. The Raiders, I don't see one at all. No, I mean, and that's yet another problem. If you go out the parking lot to the sign, over on to 66th Avenue where the 66th Mob has it set up in Forever Oakland, right? That parking sign, there's nothing there. There's no corporate logo, just the Raiders logo in black. And that's it, So, Rob Iman says the Niners finally have an exciting product. Yep, they do. They do. Let's just see how it, and I've got to go back and watch the game film. John Mark says the 49ers are coming back. Well, let's just see. And, I don't know how many times we go through this because, look, I can rattle off the number of examples over the years where you've had a team that got on a hot streak after it was certain the team was going nowhere, right? Then all of a sudden they rattle off like 4 games, 5 games. Everyone says, "Oh, this is the team to beat next year," and then it never happens. That's happened with the Cowboys. That's happened with the Detroit Lions. It's happened with a number of organizations over the years where they were the darlings. They had a losing record, but they became the darlings of the league, right? Over the last 5 to 6 games of the season. And then the next year, hey, what happened? Oh, all right. So I'm going to temper my enthusiasm and say, hey, look, I'm glad the 49ers are getting their act together, but I am not going to predict that they're going to go anywhere next year until I see the full body of moves they make and how they play the game and prepare for it in the preseason, and then I'll make my determination, okay? Then. Because here's the other problem. As well as Jimmy Garoppolo is doing, as he's doing it, NFL organizations are developing a book on him as the 49er quarterback in Kyle Shanahan's system, and that will carry over into next year. And they will adjust. So that's why I'm saying I temper. I'm always tempered. Eric Young says John Marks needs to what? Eric Young says Coliseum City. That's what's up, and it is still up. It is still up. Rob Byman says Levi Stadium will actually be full next season. We shall. I hope so. I hope so for Jed. Jed York is a good man who deserves the experience of his team and organization performing well at the top of their game. He's a. I really mean that. Jed York is a good man. Really is. So Kevin KD says Jimmy G has never had to carry the weight of expectations of a full season. Aaron Blaylock says they look good because no one has figured out Garoppolo yet. Cap looked unstoppable too. Yeah. Kevin KD says what happened to the Bills? Blackman says Raiders should team up with the George Lucas Star Wars image as the evil empire. You mean Disney? Wait, are you saying that Disney should buy the Raiders? Are you saying that Disney should buy the Raiders? Are you saying that the Walt Disney, could they do that? No. I think the laws would have to be changed to allow that. It would be nice though. The laws should be changed to allow that. I would love to see the Walt Disney Company own the Oakland Raiders. Um, Eric Young says we can play at Levi Stadium or UC Berkeley until our stadium in Oakland is built. And John Mark says Disney needs to buy the Raiders. But can they from a tax laws perspective? Because that's what got Eddie D into trouble. You know? Mr. Emily says, new to the channel, enjoying it. Thank you. Who do you think could realistically be a replacement for Todd Downing next year? Wow. I think the question isn't, well, there are a number of replacements. You could toss them. You could say Pep Hamilton. You could say Mike McCoy. You could say, I mean, the question is, names aside, is what kind of offense, and Reggie McKenzie needs to sit down and ask this question. What kind of offense do we need to have for our personnel and that'll be effective in the modern league? He needs to then find the coach that can implement that offense rather than just talking to anybody. And that calls for him to really study what's going on and find out what coach knows what. Okay? And Eric Young says, yeah, but what's the guarantee that Disney will keep the Raiders in Oakland? Well, I don't even know that Disney can do that, though. Because I believe they're no, look, here's another one. Name one corporation that owns an NFL team. Just one. You got 32 teams. Name one. Name one. Okay? I said NFL team, not any other sports league. Name one corporation. John Marks is correct. None. And there's a reason for that. The tax laws prohibit it. Okay? So, Eric Young says, I don't know. The tax laws prohibit it as it stands. Now, as I know it, I haven't checked to see if the changes in the GOP tax bill, maybe by some booyah bougie way, allow it. I'll check. I'll do some research on that because it's been a while. I mean, a long time since I had to think about that. Folks, it is 1:16 a.m., which means it's 2:16 in the East. And is it 10:16 in the West? And I'm going to go to sleep. It is, yeah. It has been a great, for what? An hour and 60 minutes? Been on for an hour and 17 minutes. And it's been a long day after Christmas. It's 11:17 in the Pacific. Oh, I said yeah, you're right. Big April says, I'm gone, y'all. Peace out. Big April, peace out, man. See ya. 11, all right. Anybody got thought? Everyone, that's almost all, folks. Anyone got any thoughts on the way out they want to share? John Mark says, Corey Brown says, Disney definitely would have to keep the deep pockets. John Mark says, bet your last money it's all going to be a Stone Gas Honey. Crawford says, love, peace, and soul. John Mark says, watch horror films. Keep America strong. We got to, you know what, tomorrow, let's have some fun. Let's talk sports. And Rob Iman, are you here? Rob Iman, because Rob, you started this. Dilly, says Crawford. Rob started this. Are you around, Rob? Mr. Iman? Hello? Well, Mr. Iman may have just canceled out real quick. Sorry about that. But Rob Iman, you are here. Okay, cool. Hey, Rob. All right, you started this, so I want you to around tomorrow. I'm going to talk about sports tech at CES and how CES and what's going on at CES that could impact the NFL and the Raiders. Okay, and get ready for CES Las Vegas, all right? I think that'll be a fun, different kind of angle, you know? Because I'm going to be in Las Vegas anyway, right? I'm going to be in Las Vegas, so why not? We can talk about all the stuff that's going to go on at CES in Las Vegas that's related to the Raiders. Man, you know, why not? Okay? Eric Young is like, Rob Iman says, may the force be with you. Dilly, says John Marks. Dilly, says I. And good night, everybody. I say thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. Oh, and by the way, for those who haven't emailed, can you all send me a list of female guests you would like to see, like a wish list, female celebrities going into 2018. So this is also the year. You realize this is the last week of Zenny 62 Live, so we have to start planning for 2018, as well as talking about the best moments from this, almost year doing this. Started what, in February, March? Yeah, it's been a while. Patrick Blackman says, Al Davis wanted the Raiders to be popular yet secretive. Interesting. And with that, all right, so see you all tomorrow. Remember, CES, Las Vegas, Raiders, NFL Talk, Sports Tech. Sports Tech. And Bob Ives says we should talk more MLB in 2008. Remember, send me a list of specifically women in sports you want to see as guests on here. Because I want to begin to change the ratio. It's like men, male, male, male. I want to open it up, I said that before. All right, everybody. I'll see you all later. Remember, the email is zenny@zenny62.com. You guys have it, particularly investors. See you guys. See you all. See you tomorrow. See ya. Thanks. See you. Hey, Corey, send the question and ask me. I got to sign out. I'll see ya.